What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Board Games Are For Everybody, where today we're going to be taking a look at the games we picked up in the month of August, I believe it is right now. Like usual, this is going to be in no particular order. We're just going to go through everything. Just going to straighten up my camera here, hope that everything is properly aligned. Okay. Like usual, we aren't going in any particular order. We're just going to kind of go through things that we got this month. We'll talk about it a little bit. First and foremost, I am kind of tapering off on my summer hours at work, so hopefully we'll be able to start recording some stuff soon, some more gameplay stuff. I do need to get through Gloomhaven still. I need to finish that up. And there's also a lot of single-player stuff that we've picked up recently. A lot of stuff in this video we will be talking about, and there's also a lot of single-player variants for games that I've come across that I actually want to try out. So hopefully we can start doing that again soon. But without any further ado, let's hop into things, starting off with Funfair. This is a amusement park themed card game. Basically, you are building your theme park. You're trying to build different attractions, whether they be leisure rides or thrill rides like roller coasters and stuff like that. You also have to hire staff members. You can make different themes for all your rides and your park and stuff. And it comes down to whoever can gain the most points by the end of the game by completing different blueprint designs for your park, like having a certain amount of leisure rides in your park or having a certain amount of particular themes in your park, a certain amount of icons throughout your park, stuff like that. This is one that I actually enjoyed quite a bit. Only thing I was disappointed about this one is that our little token on the back didn't actually have the people inside the roller coaster. Now, I'm not sure if that's just something from the retail end of the game being sold. I'm wondering if that was like a Kickstarter or Kickstarter adjacent kind of goal, was having that extra little icon. But something about that always kind of annoys me with things like this, with the advertising and everything. You're not really getting what is advertised. But outside of that small little thing, this was a really fun game. I actually really enjoyed this one. This is one that I have found a single player variant for that I want to try out. From what I understand, there was a game that came out before this one called Unfair, and that one has a solo variant. And I was considering looking into that, but then I found some solo variants people had made for this game. So that is one that I am hopefully going to get into as we start doing some gameplay video again. But that is Funfair. Fun game. I really enjoy it. No pun intended. I really enjoy that one. Hopefully we can hop into that one soon. Next up, we have Skip-Bo, the deluxe edition of the game. This is one that we found at a thrift store. We actually have regular Skip-Bo already, but it's just the pack of cards you would find at like Walmart or something like that. This one, it has like a really fancy board and everything that goes with it, and I don't know, it just seemed kind of cool. It seemed like an interesting kind of thing. Usually with card games and stuff, you don't see this kind of board presentation, but something about having a board when you're playing a game has always kind of enhanced the experience for me. Obviously, you know, we're playing board games and stuff, but for card games and stuff, for whatever reason, when you even like playing like a collectible card game, something like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon, even those paper mats that you get in like the starter decks and stuff, I don't know, it just enhances the game a little bit for some reason. So this is one that we have played before. It's just a card game where you have to match cards in ascending order, basically from 1 up to 12, and the first person to get rid of all their cards is the winner. It's okay. This is definitely a game that's better with more people. There are better card games, but I do like the presentation of this version of the game, which is why we picked it up. Next up, we have Superstar Baseball, the game that lets you manage the greatest players in the world. Now, I am a fan of baseball. As far as sports go, baseball is probably my favorite sport. In saying that, you know, I'm not a stats person. I'm not a players person. I just enjoy watching the game and rooting for our team. Now, this game in particular, it just seemed really interesting to me, honestly. Management games have never been something I've been particularly good at, but it is a single-player game, so maybe we'll get to it at some point. But It's a management game. You are literally going through all the different players. Like we got Mickey Mantle here. That's obviously a name people should recognize for baseball. But we've got all the different players, and you draft the players basically, and you make your own team as you're going through the league. And I just thought something about that was just really interesting. I really liked the idea of that, and I was like, this is only a few bucks. We found it at a thrift store, so we ended up picking it up. We've got these really cool dice. You got like the gold on the black here. It's really cool. And we just got some wooden ones here, just our regular playing tokens here. And there are actually a couple boards in here that I'm not going to pull out. But it's just something I thought was really interesting. It was really cheap. We decided to pick it up. And maybe we'll get into it someday. But that is Superstar Baseball. Next up, I want to say this is the last of the stuff we found at Value Village. It is not. So there's one more thing in here. But this is the worst case scenario survival game. Now, this is a game that we picked up. Again, it was cheap, but we more so got it for the cards, the board and stuff. The game itself, it's basically just a roll and move, sorry. But the cards themselves were what we found interesting. Me and one of my buddies have gotten into this thing lately where we have these different card games that ask you questions and stuff. Some of them are like moral dilemma stuff. Well, I can't remember the name of the game he has, but the example I can think of is something like A Question of Scruples, something like that. So we've gotten into this habit of just kind of asking all these questions and trying to see what people's answers would be. And this is kind of why we picked this up. It's sort of like a Trivial Pursuit kind of thing, but for survival techniques, I suppose. The game instructions say that the developers consulted experts. Who knows what an expert is nowadays, right? Consulted an expert about the different scenarios that are out on these cards, and we just thought it was kind of funny. So like in the example here, how to treat a tarantula bite. Do you cover the bite with a wet cloth and seek medical attention to avoid paralysis? Do you suck on the bite, spit out the poison, and seek medical attention? Or the bite is not likely to be poisonous, but you may suffer an allergic reaction. Clean it and treat the swelling with antihistamines. Now, of course, the bold one is the answer. So if you're asking people, you would have to cover the card so they can't see what the answer is. But stuff like this, like some of them like this, I have no idea how you would treat a tarantula bite. So I can only assume that this is the correct answer. I've never had that experience. But there were some in here like eating radioactive animals. What do you do when you have to eat a radioactive animal? Stuff like that. And if I learned anything from playing the Fallout games, the answer is that unless you have some rataway, you shouldn't be messing with radiated animals. But we mostly got this for the cards. It was just an interesting kind of thing. The cards would be really good if you're on like a road trip, stuff like that. But yeah, that's the worst case scenario survival game. Next up, this is one we got in a trade from someone. This is Fuse. This is a dice game where basically you're racing against the clock. It is app assisted, sort of. It has an app that you can use that is strictly just used for the timer. There's a 10-minute time limit on the game, and the timer in the app just adds some sound effects and stuff, kind of puts you in a tenseful situation. You're trying to defuse bombs, but basically the way the game works is, I'll actually just open it up here because it's probably easier to just show it. The way that the game works is that there are these cards here, and you have to basically roll your dice, which are in the bag. You blindly choose dice and roll them, and then you have to try and match the patterns that are on the different cards. So in this example, you would have to make a pyramid shape with a 2 and 3 on the bottom, and then you would have to have a 1 on the top. So you have to roll those numbers and be able to place them onto the spaces before you can move on to the next card. Each player has 2 cards that are placed out in front of them, And then there are 5 cards in the middle. Once you complete the card, one of the cards in front of you, you can choose one of the cards from the middle, and you have to go through the entire deck before the time runs out in order to successfully win. It's a pretty tense game. It can get pretty stressful, especially when you're getting down to like the last couple minute mark and you still have a bunch of cards to get through. It can be pretty tense, but it's a game that I actually enjoyed playing quite a bit. And I don't know if it's something that I would play necessarily every gaming session. It's not something I would play all the time, but it is a game I'd like to keep so that we can pull it out every now and then. I did enjoy it, and it's super easy to learn, so it's a great game if you have like guests and stuff over and they want to play a game, something a little different than, you know, Monopoly and the regular stuff. It's a pretty good game for that. I'm just losing my train of thought here. It's a pretty good game for that. That is Fuse, pretty fun. Moving on, I suppose. Next up, this is the last one that we got from Value Village here, and that is the regular Codenames. I thought I had this for some reason. We do have the Marvel version, which I don't know why we have the Marvel version, because neither of us are particularly huge Marvel fans. I don't know if I would even be able to complete a game of Marvel Codenames because I don't know enough Marvel superheroes. Like, I know Spider-Man and Captain America and basically anyone who was in the Avengers movies, and that's about it. But I'm not a huge Marvel fan, so I was trying to track down just the original one. Codenames is a pretty fun game. The general premise of the game is that you are a secret agent and you're trying to successfully... Let's see if I can zoom in on this a little here more. You're trying to successfully create the patterns in your color. So you'll have a spy master who's trying to give you hints. You'll have different words that are all placed out on the table. And you'll have a spy master who's trying to give you hints, and you need to try and figure out which word it is, which word they're talking about using the hints that are given. It's pretty fun. It's definitely a great party game. I know, well, according to this, it is the #1 party game on Board Game Geek. I don't know if that's still the case. I'm not sure when this was released. But it's a really great party game. Definitely good for big groups. We don't typically have a big group, but it still worked pretty good with just the 2 of us. But yeah, that's Codenames. Pretty fun game. Moving on. Next thing we have, this is something I am honestly shocked that I was even able to find, and that is Merchants and Marauders Sea of Glory, still sealed. This is still in the shrink. We were out at a shopping mall, and we were just looking in one of the game stores that were there, and lo and behold, Merchants and Marauders sitting on the shelf, and we didn't have the base game for a while. We got it not too long ago. So I saw this, and I was like, oh, we have Merchants and Marauders now. We should pick this up. So we grabbed it, and it was $30, but it was also 50% off because I guess they were clearing out stock. So we ended up getting this one for $15. Now, I know that this is not a cheap game by any means. I have seen these things sell for quite a lot of money, especially sealed. And I am honestly on the fence on whether I want to sell it or not. I really like Merchants and Marauders, but it isn't a game that we get out all that often. I think we've only played it once or twice since we've gotten it. So I really don't know how often the expansion is even going to get used, and I would love for it to go to someone who is actually going to use it. But in saying that, I also like the game, so I'm on the fence about wanting to keep the expansion for it, just in case we do end up playing it and wanting to use the expansion. Now, Merchants and Marauders is a game that I actually found a solo variant for that I would love to try out sometime. So maybe Merchants and Marauders is a game that we will end up doing a solo playthrough for, and maybe at that point we'll end up playing with the Sea of Glory expansion. But until then, it's going to stay in the shrink. I don't know if I'm ever going to end up opening it or if we're going to end up keeping it, but for the time being, that's just what it is. Merchants and Marauders Sea of Glory still in the shrink. From what I understand, it added some more ships. It added some new ship upgrades. There's new contraband cards and pirates and stuff down here, it looks like. Beware the changing winds. Also seems like there's crew loyalty now. There's a whole loyalty track it looks like it adds. But yeah, that's Merchants and Marauders Seas of Glory. I'm excited to potentially play that at some point. We'll see how it goes. Next up, we have Reef. Now, this is a spatial awareness game, I suppose, is the best way that I can describe it. I don't know what the technical term for this sort of game actually is. I'm thinking of games like Tiny Towns, that sort of spatial awareness puzzly kind of game. Not sure what the proper term would be, but this was pretty fun. You don't only have horizontal spatial awareness that you need to work out, but there's also vertical spatial awareness because you can stack your little reef tiles on top of each other to create different patterns. Basically, the way the game works is that you have cards in your hand. You have a certain amount of cards, and when you play a card, you place the top two tiles onto your board somewhere, and then if you have the matching pattern that's on the bottom part of the card, you can start scoring points. So you're kind of doing a balance of placing stuff down and trying to manage your different patterns in order to score as many points as you can. It's definitely one of those thinky kind of games, those kind of games I'm not particularly good at but really enjoy. And this was no different. I really enjoyed this game. I thought it was pretty good. It was a fun game. I like the theme of the game, the aesthetic, the coral reefs and stuff like that. You don't really see that a whole lot in games, that underwater kind of botanical kind of feel. So I thought it was a pretty interesting theme, which is why I wanted to try it out. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought it was a pretty fun game. So that is Reef. Next up, we have Azul, Stained Glass of Sinatra. No, this isn't a music channel. This is a board game channel. Stained Glass of Sintra. This is not the original Azul. This is the Stained Glass of Sintra. This was a one that came out, I want to say, in 2018, because it came out the same year that Sagrada came out. And we had no idea what Azul was until maybe a couple years ago. Maybe even last year, we had no idea what Azul was. And I was like, well, we like Sagrada, so maybe we'll try out the stained glass version. And it wasn't bad. We got it out and we gave it a try. But as far as stained glass goes, I think Sagrada does the stained glass theme a lot better than this one did. This one isn't bad. It's definitely enjoyable. We enjoyed playing it. But I think I would actually prefer to track down regular Azul. From what I've seen from that, it looks like a bit different than the way this one plays. And I think the big drawback for this one for me is just the theme. I just don't think it comes through on it. I think Sagrada does a much better job. So I'm not sure if this is one we're going to end up holding on to or not. I would like to at least try original Azul. But Stained Glass of Sintra is okay. It's not too bad. There's just other games that we prefer. So that is Azul, Stained Glass of Sintra. Next up, we have base game Villainous. We ended up getting this one at a pretty decent price. It was about half off from what the retail is. This is one we did a trade for. It's great. It's pretty good. It's the same as the other Villainous games, just more villains. This was the first one to come out. We actually bought some of the expansions before we ended up buying this one, because when we were going into it, we bought the ones for the villains that we liked. Not that there weren't ones in here we didn't like. We just honestly didn't know that this existed when we saw the other ones. My partner is a big fan of Snow White, so we ended up getting I think it's called Wicked to the Core expansion that had the Evil Queen from Snow White in it. And we have also picked up a bunch of the other ones at this point. We have the one that has Scar and Ratigan We also have the one that has the Beauty and the Beast stuff. I can't remember the other ones that are in there. But we have quite a few different versions of the game now. I think the only one we're missing is the one that has Cruella de Vil on the front. We aren't going to be picking up the Star Wars one. We aren't going to be picking up the Marvel one. We just aren't really into those properties. But the Disney stuff, I really enjoy how this game plays. I think it's a very interesting concept. And we played the expansions there, and we really enjoyed it. So we ended up getting more of the villains. When we played this version, I was playing as the Queen of Hearts, and my partner was playing as Ursula. And I actually really enjoyed how the Queen of Hearts played. I thought it was interesting turning your guards into wickets to play croquet. I thought that really came through with the Alice in Wonderland stuff and the Queen of Hearts in general. But yeah, that is Villainous. Really fun. If you like the other Villainesses, you'll like this one. If you like that Disney property, then I think you'll be good. But if you like villains that are in the other sets, you don't necessarily need the base game to play those. So you can always pick up one of the expansions, which is great. I think that's a great thing about it, that you don't have to have the base game. You can have any of them. Next up, this is one that came in the mail literally today. This is Codel. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. That's how I'm pronouncing it. I don't know too much about this game, honestly. I was ordering some stuff and it looked really interesting. From what I understand, basically you're creating Chinese dragons based on the different cards and stuff that you play. There's different patterns and stuff, and you can create a different kind of looking dragon, which I can only presume is worth different points depending on how you create it. But I thought it was a really interesting concept. I haven't really seen something like this, and I always love having little physical bits in my games, something to, fiddle around with and, make it feel like you're actually playing a board game, opposed to just placing some cards down. I know it's an opinion I have shared before. I'm not huge on card games. There's not enough there for me. But this is one that looked really interesting, so I'm looking forward to cracking it out and giving it a try. But that is Codel. Hopefully, maybe we'll do this one as a gameplay video at some point too, because this one apparently has a solo mode. But that is Codel. Next up, came in the same package that Codel came in, also came in today. We've got Dragon Castle. This is another one I am not super knowledgeable about, but it looked really interesting when I saw it. This one also has a single player mode, so again, maybe we'll do a single playthrough for this. But basically, this is like a Mahjong kind of thing. Solitaire Mahjong, to be fair, not traditional Mahjong. But from what I understand, basically you are doing like the Mahjong stuff. You're making sets and everything, but you're also making little like towers as you're going along. And there's a whole like thing to it. You're building, well, the Dragon Castle is the Mahjong board, I believe. And then you have to create sets of tiles and build shrines. Which is pretty much all I know about the game. I just thought it was really interesting. I really like Mahjong, so having something with some layouts and stuff. I mean, I think in the first pickup video that we did for this channel, we had that Mahjong set that we had found. So I just thought this was a really interesting game. I wanted to give it a try, but that is Dragon Castle. Next up, these also came in today. We got a handful of stuff here, something I am very excited for because it is one of our favorite games, and that is a bunch of Sagrada stuff. We picked up Passions because we don't own it yet. We do have the Life expansion, but I figured we were going to hold off on this one until Sagrada Glory came out. Now, this is fairly new. As you can see, we haven't opened it yet. It literally came in today. But I figured I would wait to purchase Passion, just get it from the website when I got Glory. And the reason that we ended up getting it off the website instead of waiting for it to come to store was actually because of these promo packs. We have the 2022 promo pack. We also picked up the 2020 promo pack. Now, I was thinking about just ordering these on their own, but at the time I was looking at ordering them, the shipping on them was ridiculous for some reason. The shipping was really high, and I was like, I can't justify paying more in shipping than what I'm purchasing. So I figured I would hold off, wait for Glory to come out, and then I would just purchase everything at the same time. It makes shipping at least a bit more bearable. It doesn't feel like I'm wasting all my money on shipping. But yeah, the promo cards are just more stained glass tile patterns, as well as a handful of challenge cards here. So different stuff for the 2 different promos. Passions, I don't know a whole lot about for the expansions, honestly. I know that it adds some more dice, some more mechanics. That's what Life did anyway. And Glory is the same thing. We've got some new dice. We've got some new mechanics. I am very excited to try all of this stuff out. Like I said, Sagrada is one of our favorite games. So it'll be quite fun to give those a try. That is Sagrada Glory, Passions, and the promo cards. Next up, we have Parks by Keymaster, right? That's right, by Keymaster. This is one that I didn't know a whole lot about when I purchased it. I knew a little bit. I had seen some people posting about it on Instagram and stuff, and I just thought it looked like a really interesting game. We have a game that we backed on Kickstarter called Trailblazers. It's basically about hiking and encountering wildlife and stuff like that. And this is basically the same theme where you're going through the different national parks and stuff. You're taking photos of the national parks, all that kind of stuff. And I just thought it was kind of interesting, and I wanted to try it out. And we did give it a try, and I actually, I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. It was pretty fun. I liked it. I think it's one that I want to try out some more. This one also has a 1-player mode. A lot more of the stuff that I have here has 1 player than I realized. But maybe this is one that we'll also try out at some point. That is Parks. It is a fun one. It's a fun one. Next up is not Parks, but is Tenpenny Parks. This is another one that I saw online a lot. This is one that I just kept seeing people posting about. And I knew that I was going to have to try it out at some point. I like the amusement park theme in things. I unfortunately can't go to amusement parks anymore. Rides just make me too nauseous. So anytime I can get an amusement park kick without having to go to the amusement park, I'm pretty happy. Stuff like Roller Coaster Tycoon, I love that game. I played it all the time growing up. Fun Fair, obviously, the first one we talked about. Theme Park. Tenpenny Parks, theme park. My big problem with the theme park games is that I find that the theme of the amusement park just doesn't come through all that much. But in Tenpenny Parks, it comes through quite a bit. You are managing a theme park. You are trying to create the best park you can, both with completing your goal cards and kind of placing stuff in the correct spots. It is a polyomino game. I believe that's the correct term, where you're placing tiles down. You need to clear out trees from your park so that you can clear space to place some things. You can add expansions onto your park, which I thought was a really cool mechanic. You're not just limited to the space you have on your starting board. You can expand your board. I thought that was a really cool idea. Also, the idea of the carousel in the middle to change the price of the different attractions, I thought that was a really neat idea. First of all, having three-dimensional components is something that I'm a big fan of in games, so I will always enjoy when there's a three-dimensional component. But I thought it was a pretty interesting mechanic as well. It's a good way to visualize the changing prices of the different attractions. But that is Tenpenny Parks. I believe this one also has a 1-player mode, so this might be one that we also hop into at some point. Next up, this is the big one for this month, and that is Arkanova. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard to death about Arkanova now. I swear every single person I follow on Instagram has posted about this game, and I guess I kind of caved in to the hype, and I figured I had to try it out. Now, I do like the theme of the game, and obviously, like I mentioned with Tenpenny Parks and games we've talked about in the past, I am a big fan of tile laying games. I think they're a lot of fun, so I already had a good, well, I'm trying to think of the right word here, a good understanding, I guess, or a good impression of what Arkanova would be. and it exceeded what I thought it was going to be. It is a massive, massive game. It is very, for us at least, we have not played a game this complicated before. It took us quite a while to get through our first game. The learning curve, there was just a lot of rules we had to keep going back to make sure we were playing properly. And I think we still ended up playing the game wrong a little bit anyway, as far as tile placement goes. But I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was good. I am hoping that the next time we play, it won't take as long as the first time, now that we know how to play a little better. But it is a game that I really enjoyed. So this is one that we will probably potentially do a single player one for. It is definitely one that I will probably end up talking about someday if I ever have 4 hours to sit down and talk about a game, because there's a lot in this game. There's a lot of stuff to do. But that is Arkanova. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Arkanova. Next up, we have Rallyman GT. I don't think this was one that was in the video last month. I was going over my shelves and I was like, did I get this month or did I get this last month? I don't remember. But this is Rallyman GT in any case. Basically, you are a Formula One racer, or maybe NASCAR, not technically Formula One, but you are a rallyman. There's no branding on it, obviously. You're a race car driver. And the thing I really like about this game is that you can basically make the track any way you want to. You can make a custom track, which I think is really cool. Something I always like about games is being able to create your own scenarios. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And the mechanics of using the dice to change your gears and to coast along the track and stuff like that, I thought was really fun. I thought it was a good time. Now, there are a couple expansions for this game that I want to track down, mostly the different cars, because the different car types, there are different dice that go with them, and those dice are what I want. There are some cars that have green dice that allow you to go up 2 gears, kind of similar to how the red dice in the base game work that allow you to go down 2 gears by doing a hard brake. Those green dice allow you to speed up by 2 gears. Plus, the different cars have different mechanics, stuff like that. That is something that I want to look into. I really enjoyed this game. I thought it was fun. The only problem we ran into with this one was that neither of us ever got into a fatal crash. We pretty much always relied on the rules of the road. We didn't really overstep our bounds as far as race car driving. So anytime we crashed, it was never a fatal crash. So we never really had to use the pit stop mechanic, and we never really had to deal with the crashing mechanics. So I feel like we kind of missed out on part of the game. But I'm sure the more plays we get, the more likely we are to run into more scenarios where we might end up crashing. But that is Rallyman GT. Really enjoyed that one. If you're into car racing, I would check it out. Next up, we have Merchants of the Dark Road. This one is, I don't even know, backwards, first of all. I don't even know the best way to describe this game. It is a game. There is some tile management because you are a merchant trying to deliver goods and heroes to the towns that they need to go to. So there is some tile management as far as your inventory goes. But outside of that, I guess I would say it's just more of a strategy game. You have different sections of the town that you can stop your wagon at, and depending on where you stop, you can use different interactions around the board, whether it be taking a job to deliver goods to a town, whether it be recruiting a hero to join your party, going to the black markets, stuff like that. It's a very interesting game. I thought it was fun what we played of it. I think it's a game that would work better with more than 2 people. Obviously, we just played it at 2. I think without having 3 people at least, you're not really getting the full experience of the game. Granted, I don't know if that's true or not because I have not played it with 3 people. However, this is one that has a single player mode. So it is one that we might look into when we start doing gameplay videos again. But yeah, Merchants of the Dark Road, I did enjoy what I played. I think it would be good with more people, but the solo mode might be pretty worthwhile as well. So that is Merchants of the Dark Road. And last but not least, we have Gods Love Dinosaurs. This one is not really a tile placement game, but you are placing your meeples around the board, and you have to, actually it'd probably be easier if I flip this over because you can kind of see. Basically, the way the game works is that you do have some tile laying because you create your world basically based on the tiles that you choose from the pool. And as you lay those tiles and you activate different breeding opportunities, I suppose, you'll have different wildlife that will start populating your map. And as those populate, you need to take your predator meeples that are also laid out depending on what tiles you choose, and you need to eat the prey meeples in order to increase the size of how many predators there are on the board. And if that wasn't enough, you have also got dinosaurs that eat the predators, and when a dinosaur eats a predator, you gain an egg that can either be used to create another dinosaur or it can be used as your scoring. So you need to manage how many points you have and how many dinosaurs you want to put out, because your score is a resource to create more dinosaurs. But it's an odd game. Honestly, the theme and stuff, once you get past the theme, I think it's actually quite fun. I really enjoyed what we played of this one. I think it is one that we will play for quite a while going forward. It was very enjoyable. Again, the theme, a little odd. The way I described it, I don't know if that was any good or not, but that's just how it is. That's how the game works. But that is Gods Love Dinosaurs. Very interesting game. And that was the last one we had to talk about. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for stopping by and giving it a watch. Just as a reminder, you can check us out over on Instagram at Board Games Are For Everybody. We post games that we pick up. We post games that we're playing, so you can kind of see what stuff we're into at the moment. And it's just a chill place to come let us know what kind of stuff you have been playing as well. Speaking of which, let me know what games you guys have been playing down in the comments below. If any of these games that we talked about today are games you've played, let me know what you thought of them. Or if any of the games we talked about today are games that you might be interested, let me know that too, because it's always interesting to know what kind of games people decide to pick up based on the games that we talk about. So that is pretty much everything. Thank you guys for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I will see you all next time. But until then, just remember that board games are for everybody, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.